What I've learned the hard way is that it's better to be loving than to be right.
This is Jenny Richards. Welcome to the Grandpa Channel. I'm Steve Harris, but my grandkids call me Rivers. Here we ask a simple question. What did life teach you the hard way? Because a lifetime reveals things you can't learn any other way. On this show, we sit down with people who've lived a little, stumbled a little, and learned a few things along the way. So pull up a chair, because what a lifetime reveals can steady another. Welcome to the Grandpa Channel. I'm Steve Harris. My grandkids and my kids and other people call me Rivers, so you can call me Rivers. But we have a wonderful guest on today who has blessed my life in various concerts and congregational meetings by her magnificent piano abilities. And her name is Jenny Richards. And I'm so grateful to have you here with us, Jenny. So give us a little bit of an arc of your life.
Thanks, Steve. I'm so happy to be here, and I love what you're doing for the world with this podcast. I like to think of all of us journeying along some sort of road of life. And as we know, nature can be unpredictable and life can be unpredictable. And along the road, there can be bumps and detours and scenic beauty and tragedy and all the things. So my road has wound from Salt Lake City, where I was born, to New York City, where I studied piano at Juilliard for 6 years. And then my road wound me back to Salt Lake with my husband, where we had 2 kids and did medical school. And then we jettied back to the East Coast, lived in Philadelphia, which was formative for my spiritual growth, very, very formative. We lived in DC, and then we trucked back to Salt Lake. So it's been kind of a boomerang in terms of geography. In terms of my life pursuits, music has been the language I speak. I'm fluent in music. But a few years ago, I had a very unexpected pivot to chaplaincy, which has been a second half of life pursuit that is expanding my spirit and deepening my ability.
What made you go that route?
I can only say it was God. And that sounds a little trite, but it was a very clear and undeniable call to pursue this. And it has been an arduous journey that's ongoing, but I can't deny that there was a divine impulse. So currently I'm working as a chaplain intern at LDS Hospital. I've worked at St. Mark's, and I'm, getting my education still. It's a long journey to become a board certified chaplain, and part of that is a theology degree. So it's been a very full and interesting life. I have 4 kids, and I love them so, so, so much. They're hard, they're wonderful, they're challenging, they're glorifying in their own ways, and I love them. So that's a big part of who I am, nurturing and raising these kids.
Let me ask you this question. It's something we ask everybody on the podcast is, what did life teach you the hard way?
Yeah, Steve. So this is an important question, which I think bears weight on the journey that I'm on now. And this event was so tragic and really broke me. But I lost my youngest sister to suicide. She was a member of the LGBTQ community, and her death broke me open and sent me, I think, down a very sacred path towards greater understanding, greater love, greater acceptance. It hasn't been an easy journey, and it's come with costs. But what I've learned the hard way is that it's better to be loving than to be right. And I think holding convictions too tightly can cost us sometimes in terms of relationships and the ability to love.
Wow. That's I can drop the mic right now. My own theory is that God is very surprising. That's a phrase that we use in our family. And the other thing that came to my mind as I was thinking about our time together is that I don't want to worship a God that I've got figured out. I mean, that's why he's God. Yeah. And I don't want to say, if I do X, Y, and Z, then he'll do A, B, and C. And I don't think it's quite that easy. And it's not formulaic.
There's a mystery that I like to be alive in, the mystery of God. We can't pin him down. We can't pin down God, and we can't pin down love. There's a theologian named Dallas Willard, who I like very much, and he says Jesus is, if he was asked, what is Jesus? And this is a very renowned theologian, studied academic. And he was asked, if you could give Jesus one word to describe Jesus, what would it be? And he said, relaxed. And I've loved that for years. Like, Jesus
Yeah.
is relaxed. Like, I don't have to hold things so tightly. I don't have to hold anything so tightly, because if Jesus is relaxed, it's okay. It's okay to breathe, and it's okay to love and be big and be spacious and generous. So I like that. God is a mystery and Jesus is relaxed.
Love that. Wow. For your journey, which it sounds like we're all on a journey. And if we're not, excuse me, if we're not, I think something's wrong. I think we all should be doing stuff, but are you surprised by where you're at right now versus you're going to Juilliard, you have an idea of this, that, and the other, but are you surprised of where you're at?
I am surprised, and I think there is a lot of holiness in what sometimes feels like an interruption. Like the regularly scheduled programming we're all on, that we think we're on this track and we're doing it right, and then God interrupts us.
How dare he?
How dare that mysterious God? But it's in those sort of interruptions that I think is sometimes life's greatest opportunities and also life's greatest work. And I do mean work, because it's not always easy, but are we willing to be interrupted by God? And talk about surprising.
Yeah. It goes back to, Jenny, I think it's easy to say submitting our will to God is really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Like
right.
you heard a call and,
Right.
you made a turn and you changed to go in that direction. I just think that God truly is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that your life has more meaning than you've been able to see so far? Or has your life meaning just been laid out for you so you know exactly what you're doing?
Oh, no. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where I'm going. That's almost one of my prayers, like Thomas Merton's prayer, like, Lord, I have no idea where I'm going. I have no idea what is next, but I do know that my desire is to please God and to worship God. And I should say, just another touch on life's interruptions, Steve. Right now, I'm working on an oncology unit with about 35 blood cancer patients. And so when I talk about my life being interrupted, that's a framework of like wonder and awe and beauty. But life's interruptions also are so, so, so hard. And I'm witnessing every day people who are like, I got my cholesterol checked and suddenly was told I have stage 4 leukemia. So interruptions can be the worst news ever, and sometimes the most breathtaking possibilities. It's both, and I marvel at the strength, resilience, and courage of the people I see each day who are navigating an interruption that they never wanted or chose. So I'm thinking about that.
Give me an idea of a day at LDS Hospital doing your chaplaincy thing. What would a typical day? There probably isn't a typical day, but what are some things you run into that you deal with?
Yeah. So my experience right now is an internship specifically focused on oncology. I've also done 2 units of study at St. Mark's Hospital where it's a bigger trauma. You're on all the floors. And so that experience was more unpredictable. For me right now, I get to make rounds on the same unit for every shift with the same patients who are there for 2 to 3 months. So for me, it's a lot of time spent in deep conversation. It's a lot of time with families of patients, with staff who have had a rough shift, but it's very focused on one unit. So in a way, this is an unusual experience of chaplaincy. Usually the chaplain is present at every death in a hospital and responds to every code and every trauma. But for me, I get this quiet walk with oncology that's really, really special gift for now.
Very cool. Yeah. What are some of the lessons you've learned from some of your oncology patients and people you've been counseling with and comforting?
Cancer is unlucky. It's an unlucky, there's bars, no holds for who it chooses. It doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter lifestyle, it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter how much money someone has or not. It rains on the just and the unjust. And I had this tender experience yesterday where I saw a cancer patient, very frail and bald, sitting with the mother of a patient that was just admitted, a young patient. So I watched one patient care for the mother of another patient who, from her space of pain, was succoring another. And that was an exquisite thing to behold. And I think there's something about being in the desert yourself. That's the only thing that can qualify you for leading someone else in the desert. I'm not qualified. I haven't been a hospitalized cancer patient. So I can't know what it's like. So I have to bear witness and be taught. And sometimes I think a chaplain's role is to offer witness and spaciousness and affirmation of whatever journey that person is on. I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to change it. I'm not even going to counsel it most of the time because I'm the one being taught. But sometimes it's really important for someone's healing to have a space to share everything, not just the good or the pretty or trying to make things tied up with a bow for their family so they don't worry, but the hurt, who can hold the hurt. And that's what a chaplain is taught to do.
Do you find yourself blessed with ideas that hadn't really entered your mind as you're talking with and counseling the oncology patients? I mean, are you surprised sometimes what comes out of your mouth or what you're led to go in a particular direction?
I'd say I'm more often than not, Steve, I am told by the Spirit to stop talking. And that's where it gets really hard. No, but like my default, and I think a lot of us, our default is to talk things through and to have an answer and to have a resource and to have a quote or have a scripture. But when I have really honored the Spirit's instruction to stop, say nothing, hold the silence, hold it even longer till I'm so internally uncomfortable. There's such richness when silence is allowed, pain can be expressed. But if we talk over it or try to fix it, we miss it.
I think that's a fabulous piece of advice. Do you think that has applicability to our dealings with our children, our spouse, and other family members?
100%. And I'll relate it to music. So I tend to call it the sacred pause. And I learned this phrase from a mentor, where you hold the silence just a little longer and you check in with yourself and you become present to the moment. Not what you think you want to say, not the outcome you think you want to have, not what you think the person should say or do, but what is this moment and how can I hold this pause? And what sacred truth will this pause yield? And in music, there's a term called a fermata. It's like an arch with a dot, and it means to hold the pause. And as I've developed musically, as a young musician, holding any sort of pause is so painful because you want to rush through things. You want to finish it. You want to be perfect, right? But to learn the maturity as a musician, to hold the space, to wait, like that's a development of a mature musician. And so I've had to apply that, employing the fermata into spiritual care. And I think it's one of the most important tools for ministry, not just in chaplaincy, but in every form of spiritual care that we give to each other. So I think, and I'm learning it. I'm not saying this is something I've perfected, and I don't think I ever will, but that's the greatest tool that I can employ.
Wow. This is really good.
Yeah.
Are there some things in your life that still don't make sense, that you're trying to find meaning in? And I'm not particularly making you go back around the horn to the suicide of your sister, but are there some things that you just still don't make sense to you? And how do you deal with those things?
Yeah, the idea of ambiguity or unfinishedness is hard, I think, for us as a society, and probably always has been hard for people. But my sister's death is horrific. It's a horrific injustice. The loss of her intelligent light in this world is devastating. And I'll never be able to make sense of it. And I don't even think I can try. But what I can do, I can't make sense of it, but I can give it purpose. Her death has got to change me in some way so that I can offer those who suffer and have struggled similarly a better way. And I'm just one person, but if I can go close to the pain of the LGBTQ community and seek to understand it and sit with it, and go to the pain of people in mental illness and sit with it, maybe her death was not in vain. Maybe it can be redeemed somehow by how I live my life. And that's a heavy burden to put on myself. And so I don't mean to make it something grandiose, but it's a charge for me, and it doesn't make sense. I don't think it ever will.
Yeah, I think there are some things we just have to wait it out in the best way. A death of a couple of grandchildren. They were IVF twins, and oh my gosh, I didn't think we'd ever get through, and I didn't think that Winston or Elise would ever get through that. And yet, God is good, and God is very surprising, and but to say that you've gotten over it, that's malarkey. That's That doesn't
Right.
happen.
Right.
I think that my vision is very deficient, and I want my vision to be better. I would like God to help enlarge my ability to see things. And
Yeah, maybe I'd add, Steve. Somebody said, I don't know the source, but God protects us from nothing and sustains us in everything. And so I don't think God caused my sister's death. I don't think it was a punishment. I don't think he could have prevented it. I think life happens and we are here with free will, and sometimes unjust things happen and people die and people get sick. But if I believe in a God that sustains me in everything, then I think I am called and charged to help sustain others in their suffering. And again, this speaks to both the work of chaplaincy and the language of music. It's a form of sustaining in the sense that we stay with. We don't walk away from it. We touch pain. And I think if I'm trying to live a life that honors God, I have to be willing to stay with others' pain, knowing that God also walks in the pain with us.
And it's so easy to run away from the pain or just say, I'll see you. I'm on overload.
Well, I mean, run away for sure, but also to try, I think sometimes a big problem is people try to spiritualize everything. Like everything happens for a reason, or heaven must have needed another angel. And there's some real danger in that sort of spiritual overlaying of people's pain that isn't helpful, you know? And I think it's to comfort those who are uncomfortable about that pain. And that's where we need to learn, like, we really don't have to say that, but can we stay with pain without making meaning of it or trying to bypass it or minimize it?
Let me ask you a different question. When do you feel most alive, Jenny, in your life?
I told my husband something last night, and this is going to sound a little silly, but it really wasn't silly for me. I was walking into Nordstrom. I don't like the mall. I don't love to shop, but I had a return. And I was reflecting on the day I had as I walked into Nordstrom, and I was overcome with this immense moment of joy because I had this breathtaking vision of each of my kids and where they are. And we're in this happy moment right now where there's the pursuit of excellence, and there's joy, and there's an upcoming marriage, and my daughter had just scored the last goal in her lacrosse playoff game. And my youngest daughter was twirling through the grass doing her roundoffs. And I had this almost like moment, like, don't you see, Jenny? Life is so, so beautiful. And it was also coupled with, it might not always be this way, but right now, breathe it in. Cherish those moments where things are right in the world and your kids are thriving. And I felt such love for them, and it just like poured out of me in the entrance to Nordstrom. So I think that there can be like these curated moments of joy, right? That we like, oh, I just ran this marathon and I'm feeling on top of the world. And that's true. But again, it's these interruptions that I felt like the Holy Spirit was like, hey, pay attention to this day and how you're feeling right now, and hold that and cherish it and have it be a part of the fabric of the kaleidoscope of events that have happened and will happen. But right now, ping, look, feel. And that was just yesterday. So I'm really glad to share that.
Is that a gift you've had, or is that something you've been trying to get better at, being kind of in the moment and trying to be open to moments like you've just talked about?
You know, I think spending multiple hours on multiple days with people in pain, it sort of shifts the way you see. And sometimes I am so weighed down by people's pain that I have to sort of energetically protect myself so it doesn't bear out in a way that's unhealthy. And so I have to be careful of that. But I also think walking with people in exquisite pain makes you walk outside that hospital and go, I get to touch the grass. That guy inside, he'd do anything to touch this grass today. So I got to enjoy this because it's a real gift. You know, it makes me maybe not take things for granted quite so much. So that moment of unexpressible joy that arose in me yesterday, I think also was tempered by the fact that I'd spent 7 hours with people who are dying and they don't want to die. This is not supposed to be the end of their life. So isn't it interesting? It's sort of a paradox. There's also, it's a both and for everything. Like sitting with those people in pain, there was such holiness, such beauty, such like real reality, spiritual energy. And so I feel like there's pain and there's beauty, but everything's a mix of both. And that's kind of ambiguous too. So a lot to sit with.
Well, I think that ambiguity it's just a part of mortality.
Right and wrong, good and bad. Like,
I know. Yeah.
We could be bigger than this.
I'm going to give you a scenario. You're a 28-year-old or there's a 28-year-old woman who just happens to fall into and listens to your podcast, what would you like to have linger in this 28-year-old?
To this 28-year-old woman, I would say, trust yourself, develop yourself, cultivate a relationship with yourself that has no intermediary between you and God. Claim the power that is yours. Go for it. Do it. Don't stay small. There's no value in staying small. Dream big, speak out, stand up. I think above all, trust yourself.
That's fantastic advice.
I wish I'd had that advice, I think, for me.
So here's a real goofy question for you. I'm not musical. I almost am proud of the fact that I'm not. I tell people I play the spoons, and I like music and I love listening to you play the piano. But what is it like to when you've got everything going? I mean, when tell us what it's like when you are playing these beautiful sacred hymns listened to a few weeks ago in the meeting that you played in. I mean, what are you feeling? Help a non-musical guy kind of figure that out.
I wonder if there would be people in other fields of study and maybe in the arts in other fields that would agree with me. But for me personally, my development of this talent has taken 10,000 hours, as Malcolm Gladwell says. The development of a skill is 10,000 hours. And that's a fact in my experience. There's been so many hours of cultivation, practice, work. It has to be that way. It had to be that way for me to develop this, what I do believe is a God-given gift. And what I notice now is that the preparation and the learning and the study has allowed me now to experience a sense of spaciousness that couldn't come without the cultivation and the work. However, this spaciousness is not something I can take for granted. Like even today, if I haven't prepared, even mentally prepared for a performance, I can't count on that gift of spaciousness to just show up. It's the gift that comes after preparation. And it feels like a letting go. Like when I have come and I come to the keyboard prepared, there's this divine gift of being able to let it go. Then the Spirit speaks forth. I can give a perfect performance, but if I haven't attached myself to the Spirit and I can't let go, it's not going to speak in a way that's touching people's spirits. So it's a hard thing to describe, Steve. But when I let go, I can feel it. The Spirit takes over. It takes over, and I can surrender, and something happens that isn't me, but wouldn't happen if I wasn't prepared.
Right. So the applicability, it would seem to me that there's great applicability to everything that we do in life that way too. If we're open to the Spirit, I love the idea of submission, but the application of actually submitting my will to God's will is, I think, it's terribly difficult. And maybe it's just me, but it'd be nice if I could step away from myself more often.
I agree with you.
I tell people that I like myself a lot better when I'm more generous-hearted. In your chaplaincy experiences and other experiences too, dealing with the grief of your sister's death, what is the meaning of life? How would you sum that up?
The big one. I think I'm going to go with Kate Bowler. She said, God is here. We are loved, and it's enough. And if those three pillars can carry me through life, I think they might. I think they might be able to. God is here with us in the pain and the joy and the beauty. We are loved. Gosh, if I could scream that from the top of the rooftops to every broken person that, crawls through life not knowing that, I would. And it's enough. That's enough. God is here, and we are loved.
Now, my final question for you. But if you were to name one or two, what do you think your superpowers are? And we talked a little bit about this in that I believe that everybody has superpowers.
I feel like I've been given a divine superpower of communicating through music. And that is something that's very outward facing. And I give glory to God for that gift. But if I could name a superpower that wouldn't come up maybe on a resume, I can laugh at myself. I love being silly. Life is not all serious. Life is not all sublime. Life can be really stinking silly. And I love to laugh. I love inflatable dinosaur costumes and any chance I can to wear one. I love to prank. I love to be pranked. I love to laugh. I can laugh at myself. And I think that kind of has helped me get through what is a lot of real seriousness in my life. And I'll claim that as a superpower, Steve.
This stayed with you. There's probably a reason. Some things in life don't make sense, and maybe they're not meant to. But even in the middle of that, there can still be love. There can still be presence. There can still be something meaningful unfolding. If this conversation spoke to you, there's another one that sits in a similar place. What life teaches us over time, especially when it doesn't go the way we plan. And if you don't want this to move on too quickly, we've created a place to slow down and reflect.